Welcome to week 1 of Unity 3D Game Club. In this series of videos, we'll be looking at 3D elements from various games. In this first video, we're going to work with physics and making things roll and drop and just basic elements to make your game more interactive. So if you had a character, you could shove a box or you could have a ball that rolls. And these will be things we'll be building onto in later videos when we add characters, when we add levels, when we add lighting and stuff. Like a cool lighting effect is having a light that swings back and forth. And this is a good introduction to how you'd come up with the base ideas on how you'd create something like this. So the first thing we're going to do is make a new project. So just click on new. And it's going to take a little bit to load. Hopefully it loads in. Yep, here it goes. And first off, if you have this on, you should probably turn it off. We won't need it. You can save this project to your desktop and make sure you have 3D on. Before we've been using 2D, now we want to be in 3D. And then we're going to give our project a name. In this one, I'm going to call it 3D Physics. You can call it whatever you want. If you already have an idea of what you want to make, you can just call it that and build onto it as the videos progress. And then we're going to create a new project. And you'll see your little 3D physics thing show up there. And then your project will start to build. So, we don't want the new version yet. So this is Unity. Your layout will probably look like this when you open it for the first time, or if you already have something set up from previous ones, it will look differently. I like to rearrange it a little bit. I like the wide the best. And then to show off some physics elements, I'm actually going to take my gain and drop it right here, make it kind of small, and I'm going to change from free aspect to 16 by 9. Just have it off in the small, because a lot of physics we can just show off in this screen here, and we don't need the big screens. So previously we've been using 2D objects like sprites. Now we're going to start using 3D objects. So the first 3D object we're going to make is a cube, and it will appear in your scene. And then you might still be on 2D mode, which is this one. You want to switch over to this, which is 3D mode. And then in your positioning for your cube, we're going to click this and we're going to do reset position, and that will bring it right down here to the center where you can easily see it. And now in your game, you have this little box here that's 3D. And what I'm actually going to do is to show off the first basic physics things, which is how to add 3D rigid bodies. So in 2D we use 2D rigid bodies. Now we're going to use 3D rigid bodies. So I'm going to click on my cube. I'm going to do Control D or Command D to make a duplicate of it. And then in 3D you have 3 directions of axis. You have Y, which is up. You have X, which is side to side like this right. And then you have blue, which is Z. So I'm just going to raise this up in the Y plane. So we have a bit of gap here. And in the gain, you can see our gap. And 3D objects by default have colliders on them. So the different 3D objects have different colliders. A cube has a box collider, a sphere has a sphere collider, capsule is capsule collider, and the various ones as you go along. And you can still do mesh colliders like what we did with 2D. So we have our second cube here, and I'm actually going to add a component. I'm going to go into physics, so not physics 2D, physics, and I'm going to add a rigid body. And a rigid body works just like a rigid body that we used in 2D, except it's just a plain old rigid body. And now if I hit play, we can watch the 2 objects here. This box will fall and land on top of that one. And we can, oops, I zoomed in. We can zoom out a little bit, bring this up, so you can see the change a little bit more. And we'll just see this fall and land on there. And now if we go to here, so if your game's running and you have scene, you can edit your scene in real time. I don't think we covered this a lot in 2D, but again, so I'm going to click on this top cube, and I'm going to drag it out to about here, and you'll see it starts to tilt like that, and you can push it back. Or you could let it tilt, so just drag it out a little bit, it will tilt, and fall off the map, and fall down forever into nothingness. So that's a basic of how you add physics to the objects, and I don't know. Oh yeah, we put that up there. So this is a little basic of how you add basic physics, and I'm going to show you something else. So we have this little 3 arrows. This is the movement key. So in 3D there are others. There's this rotate, which lets you rotate objects like this. So let's say I want it to be like that. You can rotate it like that. And then there is this one, which is resizing. So you can drag these and it will resize different parts of the shape. And you can also do all of this right here. So I'm going to make this, let's say 7 by 7, and then y 0.3, like that. And now this will make a big plane that is 7 by 7 wide and 0.3 thick. And these are all in meters. So all units in unities are in meters. And you see in our display, we have a little thing here. Right now, this is going to be quite boring because we're looking at the back side of this panel. So something else you can do in 3D is you can move the camera to new locations. So say we wanted a camera to be about here. You can position this view inside your scene. You can click on your camera, then go into Edit, nope, not Edit, Game Object, and say Align with View, and that will move your camera to be the same view that your scene view's at. So if you build a scene and then want to have a different view for it, instead of having to click on this and use these things to move it around exactly where you want, you just align your view with the scene and then click that and it will instantly lock it to wherever you want it. And now we have our cube that's up here, and I am actually going to move it so that it will fall more towards the top of this, like this. And now if we hit play and we look at this scene, our cube will fall, land on the slide, and tumble down. Because this is a slant, and because gravity's on, it will tumble down. And we can get rid of this cube. So right click, delete, and we can add a sphere, for instance. And I'm going to reset its position, and then drag it up, and I'm going to push it back a little bit. Now if I hit play, oops, so sphere, I forgot to add the physics, not physics 2D, add physics, rigid body, like that. And now our sphere will fall, land on here, and it will roll down. And this is just a brief little introduction to physics. You can play down with all of the other 3D shapes here. There are ragdolls, which we will cover when we do our character controller with models. So in the next video, we'll be doing character controllers, which allows us to move around. And then we'll add actual characters to the game, and we'll show what ragdoll is. There's terrain, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then there are trees, there are wind zones, and 3D text. So this is a basics for the physics engine. You can mess around with all of these. All of these are physics capable. Ragdolls are physics capable, but you do need a 3D model of a character to use them. Terrain, tree, and wind zone do not use physics. They have their own shapes. A terrain is simply a map you can put stuff on. A tree is a tree. And a wind zone allows you to add breeze and movement to stuff. So if you had a piece of cloth, you can make it blow in the wind. So I guess that uses some physics, but we won't be covering it. And then 3D text is exactly as it is. It is just 3D text. So what I'd recommend you do is just get started, play around with these little scenes, duplicate objects, move them around, and just build little physics things where things roll and fall and shift around. And eventually you'll get pretty good at making little scenes that you can play around with stuff in. So in this one, I'm just duplicating this block over and over again and using the keys to make little sections. So, and then I'm going to position the view like here. So again, we click on our main camera, game object, align with view. And now over in the game view here, I'm going to hit play. And our sphere will fall, roll, bounce off that, and then fall off the edge of the map. And right now, I'm just going to add one more thing to this. This isn't related to physics, but it's good. All of these things look the same, and our ball looks the same. So something we can add is something called materials. So down here in your assets, you can right click, do create, and make a new material, give it a name. In this case, I'm going to give it red, because this will be my red material. And then over here, where it says albedo, you can click this, and you can choose a color. So because this is my red, I'm going to make it red. And you can mess with all of these settings to make your ball more metallic. You can make it more smooth so it's super shiny. Depending on how you change this will cause your computer to need more power to run it. Unity does scale some stuff, but some stuff won't scale correctly. And then once you have your material how you want it using this, you can make it glow with this. You can give it a glow so it shines a different color. But black is no color, then you can change it to whatever you want. Once you have your material done, you can drag it and drop it onto whatever item you want. So then I'm going to create a new material. This one I'm going to call green. And all I'm doing with these is making them kind of like matte colored, so they don't have a lot of fancy colors to them. We'll take my green, drop it there. We'll make a new material called blue. I'm going to drop down the smoothness, make it a nice blue, drop it there. And then let's create a new material called purple. And I'm just going to get a good purple color. This and drop it there. And now if we go back to our game view, everything in our game has a color. So we have red, green, blue, and purple. It's kind of pink though. And you can put these on whatever you want. So say you wanted all your ground to be blue, you just drag these and drop it all on the blue. You want your ball to be green instead of red. You can redo these however you want. And you don't even have to follow this normal color thing. Like purple, you can make anything here. And you just drag this to change the main color. And then this to fine tune your preferences. So if you wanted, say, a brown, you would go down here between yellow and red. And you can pull out a brown color. And then let's say we want to make this brown like it's dirt or something. We can drop that there. And now we have a green ball like, I don't know, a seed or something rolling on this brown dirt. You can mess around with these physics, use lots of different shapes. So game object, 3D object, let's make a cylinder. And we will reset the position, drag it up. And then I'm just going to rotate it kind of like this. Here's our cylinder, and I'm going to give it the blue material. And all physics objects behave differently. So, oops, we forgot cylinder, pad component, physics, rigid body. You can mess with these to change scale of gravity, how they collide with stuff. They have a lot of the same behaviors as 2D, so if you were familiar with 2D rigid bodies, you can just reapply all that to here. So now we play this, we run it, and you'll see our cylinder will roll like a cylinder, but our ball will still behave like our ball. So our ball rolled and fell off the edge. Because cylinders don't roll on their side, they only roll one direction. The cylinder won't roll off. And again, you can go in your scene and live mess with stuff to play around with it. And sometimes it gets a little tricky to play around with the objects, but like there, now it's going to roll, fall off the edge there. So that was just a brief introduction to 3D physics. In later classes, we'll build more on this to build levels where you can interact with barrels or boxes to move them around or blow them up for items. It depends on what kind of game you want and how you want to use it. So for now, again, I just recommend building something like a Rube Goldberg machine where you just have a bunch of stuff fall and hit each other. But 3D objects do take more physical, oh look, there's a thing for the new iPad Pro. 3D objects do take more power to run. So if you have tons of 3D physics-based objects in your scene, you won't be able to run it very well. So this ground here is non-physics-based objects. You can have a lot of these as long as they're big. And then I only have 2 physics objects here, so it's fine. If you want to see how much you're affecting your game, inside your game here, you can turn on stats. And if it shows up here, it will show you information about your game, including your frame rate. So when I play here, I get around 70 so frames a second on these normal settings with physics objects. And right now, this is all in a MacBook Air, which isn't a very powerful computer. So you can tell that Unity is very good at loading physics objects. But if you have a lower-end computer or a ton of physics objects, it will start to take a hit on your scene. So I will see you all in the next video. And if you are coming to class on Wednesday, we will be going over the basics of how to design a game again, and then talking a little bit about the physics engine in Unity. So I will see you all in the next video.